still, not sponsored by Duncan. It's the Woodworking Morning Show.
Well, good morning, everyone.
I
thought I might have a technical problem, but we didn't. So
he's like, I'm prepared.
I'm prepared to have a technical problem.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning.
Yes, good morning, everyone. It is the Woodworking Morning Show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Nicole.
And we're going to talk about woodworking. We're going to answer questions. We're going to tell you about this thing.
The Dice Tower.
Dice Tower.
We're talking about Woodworkers Fighting Cancer.
We're going to talk about Matt's project that's coming up in the guild today, in fact.
Man, it seemed like October just, boom, happened.
Well, the last 6 months has been this weird time paradox where in some ways it's going slow, in other ways it's just zooming right by. But you know what? We're here. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're happy and healthy. And we're going to do a show. He's
going to answer questions.
That's what I do.
I'm going to take questions in the YouTube chat. We also have Patreon questions that were pre-selected
yes.
over on Patreon. So if you're like, how do I get my question answered? Lots of ways.
Yep, and also we now have the membership thing over on YouTube. So we want to just thank all these people, both on Patreon and YouTube, who helped us out. Cave Troll, Jacqueline Johnston, Jim McGinnis, Fred, just Fred, Cummings Woodworking, Horace Raper, Matthew Lee, and Andrew Slaughterback.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. All right, so a couple of quick announcements here.
Well, before you do that,
yes,
Robert Price just did a super chat, said, on time, this can't be a good sign.
The day's all downhill from here.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. Okay, so real quick, Matt's Dressing Vanity.
Yep.
This is a project in the WoodWhisperer Guild. And excuse my bad technical presentation here. We're still visible behind the picture. Look, his vanity has arms. Oh, look at me. Okay, so this is a project in the Guild. It is currently being released as we speak. And the price is still the low price.
The
discount pre-order price. Today's the last day. So if you don't jump on this now, the price, goes up after this point.
I will say the new way of how we release the guild videos is very nice.
I was right, is what you're saying.
I can caption everything all at once. So I just got all of my professional captions for the vanity that I'll be uploading after this show. So when this is released, is it released yet?
It'll be released today.
Later today, they'll all have captions. Just like that.
Yep.
Boom.
Yep. So with Darth Dweeb, where you been, man? He says, congrats, you got the 1080 stream working. It's been for like 2 months.
No.
Just said it, Nicole. I'm trying to win an argument here.
Okay.
Side with me. Whose side are you on? Are you on Darth Dweeb's side?
I'm on the side of truth, justice.
All right, Picard, relax.
Right.
Okay, so.
What else we got going on?
Okay, we also have, hold on. I feel like our volume's just a little hot. There we go. Okay, we also have the Sketchup Course. This is one that people are getting super, super excited about.
That came out of like nowhere.
It did come out of nowhere. We sneak attacked y'all with it. My buddy Brian Benham, who does all of our drawings for the free site, he does them all for the Guild.
He's been doing those for years, since we were in Arizona.
He is also a co-contributor sort of to some of the designs. I run design ideas by him because he's very clever with his designs. So this is a course that's in the Guild right now. It's pre-order for the next 2 weeks, and then it releases on the 16th. This sucker is $35 right now.
And that gets you full access to all the Guild memberships. So vendor discounts, all the interviews.
Yeah, you are a member for life.
Like $35 gets you into the Guild. Boom.
Yep, Professor Benham.
In the Facebook bit.
Plan B said it. Professor Benham. So it's a really good course if you wanted to get into 3D modeling and SketchUp. And look, the 3D modeling software world is it's kind of rough right now.
It's shifting.
Fusion 360 just had some changes that took away features. SketchUp has always been changing over the years, but they're no longer supporting their desktop version. This is completely focused on the free web version. So if you've tried that in the past, it has gotten better. And this course will show you how to use that to your benefit. So
I put a link in the chat for anybody who's curious to read more about that project.
Yep. Apple Opina just asked, is it the web-based version? Yes.
And that's the free version, right?
Yeah, so in the future, we may move on to more advanced topics that use the desktop versions or the pro version, but right now we're just focusing on the free stuff. We want you guys to know how to use that because we give you plans that also include SketchUp files.
You just answered Paul Bolton's question about, are you going to get more advanced?
Okay, well, there we go. It's almost like I know what people are going to ask.
There you go.
Okay, so you want to talk about this real quick.
Yep, Dice Tower.
The Dice Tower video just released this morning. I just did the premiere.
Just dropped it.
Like just a couple minutes ago.
But if you were a YouTube member at the $5 level or
They saw it
a
yesterday.
Patreon at $5 level, you saw it yesterday.
Yeah, we're doing early releases there on content. So anyway, everybody can watch this now. This is my little Dice Tower project that I did. If you're not familiar, you drop dice in it, and it's got a couple of ramps. It knocks them around, and then it contains the dice once they roll. You can also store in here. You could even put the dice in there. They won't fall out as long as you put it in the right way. And you could drop it in like this, and now it becomes portable. And what was my joke? Now everyone can see that you're a total nerd.
Stop.
You'd be like, look at me, I'm a dork with my dice.
I like it because you can.
My
you
dice
can hold,
hoochie.
You can. It's a carrying case too for your dice.
Can I call it a dice hoochie?
A dice hoochie. Hoochie
So
mama.
this video is out now. There is a plan for that if you're interested. It's like $5.
So he made 3 of them.
Yes.
We're giving 2 of them to our friends who do D&D podcasts. So if you're interested in Dungeons and Dragons and want to hear some pretty cool campaigns, Scott Johnson does There Will Be Dungeons, and so I'm going to be sending him one of them. And our friend Steven Schleicher does Critical Hit.
Yes.
Over at Major Spoilers.
We should have made one for Rodrigo too.
Well, we can send it to Rodrigo. We can tell
Rodrigo's the
Steven to
man.
give it to Rodrigo.
Hey Steven, touch this for a minute and give it to Rodrigo when you're done. You think he'd like that?
Yes. And this, I decided before we went live, our auctions go for Woodworkers Fighting Cancer. Every year, we've been doing this since 2010. We skipped 1 year because my father passed away, but we've been doing it every year, and we've raised over $100,000 for various cancer charities. This year, we are supporting St. Jude Children's Hospital, Research Hospital. If you go to 32auctions.com/WFC2020, you'll see all the auctions, or you could just go to woodworkersfightingcancer.com and you'll see the link there to go to the auctions.
Yeah.
We had a lot of companies give us things for these auctions. I would like to thank them. Let's thank them because you haven't done a video yet. Are you going to do a video?
Maybe. Let's just see how the day goes. Let's see where it takes us, Nicole. I have lots of things planned.
I have 20. I'll have 21 because I am going to list the Dice Tower. Matt Cremona gave us a cutting board to auction off, so you can own something from Matt Cremona.
Oh, how generous.
Yes, we got Brusso. We got gift certificates from Brusso.
Look at the picture of Matt, too.
I know, he's so cute.
I wonder when Matt will transition to not looking like a baby child.
Probably when he's 60.
Like when he cuts, every time he cuts his hair, like normally he's got the little more of a scruffy look, right? Makes him look older. But every time he cuts his hair, he looks like he's 12 years old. And I wonder at what point in his life, like at 40?
All right.
At 40, okay, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm like, I got a list to get through here.
I got stuff to do.
I got stuff to do.
I just want to make fun of Matt all day.
So we want to thank Fuji Spray. Rockler gave us 2 items. MLCS gave us, I need to update that listing before it goes live. Powermatic gave us a bandsaw to auction off.
Is that the 14-inch bandsaw?
It's the 14-inch.
Oh, man. That's awesome.
Titebond gave us 4 gift certificate bundles. Bell Forest gave us a full wood package for the Rubo. Like, boom.
So even if you don't build the bench, you got a lot of wood.
A lot of wood.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Woodpeckers gave us...
Our good friends at Woodpeckers.
Yeah, they gave us 3 items.
Wow.
So I have them all listed at the top. You can actually search them pretty easily now.
Great.
So thank you to all of those companies for gifting these great prizes, well, auction items.
Yeah, well, in the past, we used to try to get companies who would sponsor the event, so they would do what we do. Basically, everybody who builds the child's or the what do we call it? The kid's desk?
The kid's desk. So that is the project for this year.
Yeah.
It's already been released. It was released back in August.
And if you made one...
If you've already made one, just send me a picture
you're done.
from the submission form on woodworkersfightingcancer.com. and we give $5.
Yeah, so we donate money per finished project, and we used to do that with companies, but as it turns out, companies don't like this open-ended, we're not sure how much we're going to owe when this is done. So Nicole came up with the idea to start doing auctions instead, and it's a win-win, right? They give a product out, they are only out the cost of that product, and then you get a great tool. You may wind up paying full price, but all that money now goes to charity. So it's like a win-win-win.
Yeah,
Nicole.
a win-win-win. Oh, and I went ahead and put the ultimate guild project list. So every single project that is in the guild, if you win that auction, you get it all. And if you're a current guild member and you already have projects, I will credit you that number of projects for future projects.
That's awesome.
So,
man, that's like a $1 million prize pack, Nicole.
Around $3,000.
Okay, so I'm pretty
around $3,000.
Okay, should we do some questions today?
Hey, yeah, we got lots of questions.
That's really what we're here for, right? So Matthew Lee wrote in, he says, what made you decide to switch the guild membership from yearly subscription to buy a project, in it for life? Laziness, mostly. When you have a subscription model, there's the expectation that you will produce content on a particular schedule. And I got to the point where I wasn't sure how I'd be able to do that moving forward. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to do it on a schedule and give people enough money for their yearly subscription. I also didn't like the fact that when a year would roll around, people would forget that they have the subscription. This is actually something like, if you get into marketing and things like that, this is why subscriptions are so popular, because it's a great way to get money from people and they don't even realize it. Like, a lot of people just honestly aren't checking their statements. They may not even pay attention. So
like Matt Cremona and his Audible subscription.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if anyone saw that, but Lindsay posted something about how he had it for over like a year.
Almost a year.
And hadn't listened to any books. $15 a month. Way to go, Matt. But subscriptions are that kind of thing that, like, if you want to make a lot of money as a content producer, do subscriptions, right? Because you'll get purposeful money and you'll get accidental money. I didn't want to do that. I really didn't like people being billed automatically for things that they forgot about.
We never automatically billed anyone. And we needed a way to pay instructors.
And that's what it came down to. With guest instructors, a subscription model is really hard to maintain, because how do I share revenue with them in a way that makes sense, right? So that's why we abandoned that. And I still think it's, I would like to do something subscription-based in the future, if possible, but I just don't see a path to getting there. It doesn't make sense for our model.
Gazang said, when do I get an email about winning my jet drum sander? I'm sorry, Gazang.
Sorry.
Brian, I posted it on the widget. I've already contacted Brian. Sorry if your name's Brian. You're like, no, it wasn't you. I've already talked to Brian. He won the jet drum sander.
Okay.
But I'm hoping to do another giveaway in November.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Aaron Jensen says, and we got 2 questions here relating to cherry. And I just finished up some cherry.
I thought I said charity.
No, cherry.
Cherry.
Nicole. So both of these deal with cherry and blotching. Aaron says, I've got some really figured cherry that I'm turning into a box for an antique coffee grinder. How do you make the wood look as old as the hardware? From stains and gels to distressing and finishing, I'm a bit overwhelmed. Okay, I'm not really a specialist in distressing, other than distressing the coal. It's something I actually excel at. But when distressing wood, there's lots of weird things you can do to it. There's ways you could apply stains and just sort of a black schmutz that can kind of just make it look a little bit older. That's just not my thing. I don't have a lot of great advice for that, but look into things like toners, look into gel stains. There are techniques you can use to kind of just apply a little bit of what looks like surface dirt on the surface. But you're dealing with cherry. And the cool thing about cherry, which relates to our next question, is that it does blotch. If all you did with something like this was put a little bit of boiled linseed oil on there, let that soak in, wipe off the excess, that's going to give it a sort of matte look, but you're actually going to get a blotchy look as well. The cherry will absorb more oil in some areas than others. That blotchiness with just an oil finish is going to look pretty classic, pretty old. And then over time, as you use it, and what do you say it is, a coffee grinder? As you actually use it and make coffee with it, it may wind up getting dirty and it might get coffee grounds on it, and your hands touching it will apply oil from your skin onto it, and that kind of burnishes the surface. And over time, I think it will actually, in a fairly short amount of time, look like it belongs. I don't think you need to take a set of chains to this thing or screwdrivers or an awl to prick holes in it. You can do all that stuff if you want to, but I don't know that you necessarily even need to. So again, not the best person to give distressing advice, but I actually think less is more in this case. I wouldn't do a whole lot to it.
Let's see.
Well, let me continue to the next question because it's related to blotching.
Okay, I got a super chat there for you to do.
I'll hold that there then. Lark Atkins says, I'm finishing up the miter station build and started to apply Danish oil. It's a Watco natural. And I've got these weird splotches along the counter edge band. What did I do wrong and how to avoid this in the future? Is it blotching? The wood used was cherry. Cherry blotches, that's what happens. So especially if you just put in oil, this is what I was telling Aaron to do because I think it makes sense in his case. If you just apply oil, which is really kind of what that Watco Danish oil is, it's an oil varnish blend, you're gonna get those light and dark spots that people call blotching. So in this case, on a miter station, on the edging, don't worry about it. It's just a shop tool. And frankly, I actually think a little bit of blotch kind of looks cool. In the future, if you really wanted to avoid it, there are ways that you can employ what they call blotch control, right? So you can use a pre-stain conditioner. You could use something like Charles Neal's conditioner is a great product for that. Sometimes just using a film finish that dries very quickly, like a lacquer, something that doesn't absorb deep into the wood, that's a great solution to avoid blotch in the first place. So all those things are possible. My best suggestion for you is to kind of get over it. I don't mean that in a sarcastic way.
He's still.
Yeah, they do still sell blotch control.
I'll link to Charles Neal's blotch control in the chat and show notes.
Yeah, it's a great product. So what I mean by get over it is the fact that, like any piece of cherry is just beautiful. And over time it ages and it starts to warm up. You start to see that blotch a little bit less over time. So I encourage you to not get too hung up on the blotch-prone nature of it unless you're going to stain it. If you stain it, then I think you might want to do a little bit more in the way of blotch control. But a clear finish, I would just leave it as is. I just did my mom's whole table with Rubio. It's all cherry. It's blotching all over the place. And I've got pictures on my Instagram account if you want to take a look at it. It looks gorgeous. So if you look at that table and you go, ugh, then maybe it's not for you. But I think it looks good. So, get over it, right? I think that's what, what's my buddy's name, Nicole?
Your good buddy.
One of my buddies. I got so many buddies. I can't remember it. Anyway.
With
he
effort,
used to say something.
Just told me that Four Eyes is doing a table making contest at the same time. Your campaign is a specific design. Yes, ours is very specific, but theirs is open. So technically, people could build ours and enter it over there too. I wouldn't want you to do that.
Well, hold up. What is they're having a contest?
Yeah, Four Eyes is doing a table making contest.
Well, that's good, but my design isn't winning any contest.
No.
So if they want to build my design and put that into the contest, all the power to them. But guess what? They ain't winning any prizes with that design. The design was purposely intended to be simple, easy, let's call it non-elegant. It was a means to an end. So they could do that all day long. I'm sure they're not going to win anything.
Ava loves the table, by the way.
Good.
It really helps us focus on her schoolwork. I'm homeschooling our daughter, by the way, during the day.
Okay, I got a question here from TTOKC.
TT, super chat. Thank you.
Super chat, yeah, thanks. I plan to make 5 jewelry boxes for Christmas.
I bought the jewelry box plans.
What? What?
Turn off your phone.
Well, look, I'm an important person. I can't. It could be anybody.
So you bought the jewelry box plans.
Jewelry box plans. I plan to make 5 for Christmas and weighing the pros and cons of the sprayed in flocking versus peel and stick velvet. Thoughts? It's personal choice. Some people like the velvet. I have trouble cutting it to size, but it is more consistent looking when you get it right. All right, when you get those corners cut really nice and sharp. Flocking is easier in the sense that you just kind of, wherever you put the adhesive, the flocking material will stick to it. And inside corners, none of that is a problem.
Flocking.
The problem you might run into with flocking is you can get bare spots.
Yeah, I can kind of see.
If you hold it in the right light.
Yeah. There's like a little bit of a little ball patch.
Yeah.
It's thinning.
Yeah,
in the
it's
front.
not truly a bald patch. It looks like the back of, it looks like Millie's back.
Yes, it
Our
does.
dog has always had a condition where she has like lighter hair in a couple areas.
She's thinner.
It's a little thinner there. So that's one thing you could run into with flocking that people don't like about it. And you have to be careful about masking off the areas you don't want flocked. But when it's done well, I actually think flocking looks amazing. It just looks so clean and perfect. if it's done right. But the sort of adhesive-backed material is also tempting, but you got to know how to cut it right. So personal choice. And there are a lot of people who hate flocking. So
I like it.
There's that.
I like it. Worth effort clarify. He said contest, meaning build a table, you get entered for giveaways. I don't know. I can't find the link for what you're talking about. So I don't know if you can put a link in the...
Honestly, though, who cares?
Build a table.
Build a table, get into a contest, enter a charity.
There's all kinds of stuff going on online
Whatever.
right now. TT said, to add to my question, how about durability of the flocking?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about a jewelry box,
Yeah.
right? Or something like a jewelry box.
Ava's is doing fine, and I shove a whole bunch of crap in that.
Yeah, generally speaking, you're fairly gentle with these things. It's not like you're putting flocking on the inside of a shop drawer, right? So I think durability-wise, I don't know. I wouldn't do a lot to try to abuse it. What would be more durable between those two?
Probably the velvet.
Well, I don't know.
I
honestly have no idea.
I would think the velvet paper, because it's like a...
And also, if it gets really damaged, you could replace the paper. You could pull it out and put some new stuff in.
You can't reflock this?
Not without considerable trouble. It is essentially glued to the wood.
Yeah.
And you can't kind of like do just the bottom.
I think this looks more professional, though.
If it's done well.
Yeah, yeah.
If it's done improperly, then it looks bad.
Try testing the flock. See how you do with it. Because I actually like it more than the sticky peel paper.
Okay, next question I have is from Alex. We're on finishing today. He says, I may have a dumb question about applying film finishes. People talk about sanding between coats, and I'm assuming they mean hand sanding. Should I use the same grit, like 400 or 600, in between each coat? Or should I increase the grit with each coat? Does the same process apply to all film finishes, no matter the application method? Or are there outliers that have variations? Okay, there's a lot of answers to this question. None of them are totally wrong. You might find someone who likes to sand between grits with just 320. That's what they do. It works for them, and it's fine. A lot of people will also increase, so after the first coat, you sand with 320. After the second coat, you sand with 400, and you progressively work up as high as you feel you want to go. For me personally, when I do a film finish, I might hit the first coat with the 320, then after the second coat, bump up to like 400, and at that point, I don't feel the need to go any higher than that. So if I'm sanding between coats from that point on, I'm probably not going to go higher than 400. You could stay at 320 and it would be perfectly fine, but I do like going to that 400. It could change depending on what your goals are and what finish you're using, but most film finishes will respond well to that kind of treatment. So, but again, there's like 100 different ways you could approach this, and they would all probably still get you pretty close to the same result. Now, if you're going for something like a really high polish sort of finish, it's a little bit of a different story, because then you really want to work up to higher and higher grits. And a lot of times you pile on your finish and then kind of hit it after you have a nice thick layer. Then you start working up in your grits, and you're not really putting any more finish down on the surface. You're just abrading the finish that exists on the surface.
Before I forget, Michael Lusk, I hope you're feeling well. I know he couldn't make it today, and he has a doctor's appointment, so I hope you're doing good. Brad, don't scroll past that. That was a super chat I want you to read.
Brad Snipes.
Brad Snipes, yo.
Snippus, yo. Hey, man.
Hey, man.
How do I become self-employed? Do you have any idea? Well, the easiest way to become self-employed is to quit your current job.
Yes. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I don't recommend that method, at least not initially, but that's how it begins.
I mean, honestly, there's been a few people. Didn't Matt Cremona lose his job, and that's when he started?
Maybe, yeah. I think
wanna
there's
say,
something like that, like a layoff or something.
Yeah, something happened layoff-wise. We didn't do it that way. So I had a full-time job where I traveled a lot, and you started doing stuff on the side, just to kind of build up your skills.
The way I handled it is like with a security blanket. I wanted to make sure I had a lot of work, and I was working nights and weekends and still had a day job. And I had to prove to myself that I would actually have enough in the way of client work to justify having a full day to work in the shop. And it wasn't until that point that I was comfortable saying, actually, I was never comfortable leaving my job.
No, I had to force you.
Yeah, Nicole really forced me to do that. But it wasn't until I proved to myself that I really could keep busy, that I was like, okay, this might actually work. That's just me. A lot of people are more like, just jump into the deep end and follow your passion, and I'm a little more practical.
Yeah, don't do that. Prepare, plan. I see that you are paying with £1 for your super chat, so you are in Europe, and you may have different rules as far as woodworking apprenticeships, journeymen. Like, there's a whole
little more regulation there,
skill trade.
Sure, I could see that.
In different parts of the world. So I have a friend who lives in England, and he picks up tools on the side and refurbishes them, but it's a side thing that he does.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just all depends.
Look into any small business resources that are in your area. Talk to other self-employed people, small business people, and just learn from their experience. There's a lot to being self-employed that doesn't even involve your craft.
Well, and for you,
and you need to know that stuff.
You don't have to worry about healthcare. That was one of the huge things when we first moved. When I quit my job, it was like, okay.
Well, with me, it wasn't so much of an issue because you had a job that covered us both.
Right, but
so
then
the
when
spouse
I
was always
stopped,
helpful. But yeah, when you quit your job,
it was like,
then it was like, okay,
How are
now
we gonna
insurance is now a big issue for us.
So in the United States, health insurance and benefits is a huge part of work. So if you don't have a spouse or
having
someone,
a job.
but
It's one of those things that's a painful realization of self-employment is, if you've worked for someone else for the longest time, healthcare just was like, okay, well, this is our insurance. It's just not an issue. But then once you're self-employed, you're now in a different market. You have different rules. It's a whole thing. But again, that person is in Europe.
But yeah, look locally. I'm sure you have resources at your disposal.
Yep. And also, I'm going to give you one big warning. Careful with your online resources about self-employment and things like that. A lot of times people are very quick to tell you how to succeed doing, let's say you want to be a woodworker, right? They'll tell you how to succeed as a woodworking business, but what they actually have is a content business. They don't have a woodworking business. So it's a little tricky to take advice from someone who doesn't make their money building furniture for clients when they're telling you how to succeed making furniture for clients, right? So be careful of who you listen to, because there's a lot of pie in the sky sort of advice that I don't think is...
Which is why you don't like to...
Which is why I don't usually give business advice, because I don't make my living building furniture for clients. I make it doing this weird thing that we do, you know, talking to people and teaching people.
Yep.
All right, let's see.
Alex?
Corey.
Or did you already do Alex? Oh, Corey.
Corey Pelton.
Oh, Shadowlands is coming, Corey.
Okay, my last project ended with a couple of less than stellar bridle joints due to glue seeping into the end grain and me not catching it. It took more work than I'd like to admit to clean them up. Do you shellac your end grain before glue ups? I do not. Usually I don't. Most of the time, the end grain post glue up is accessible, and the glue typically isn't going to absorb so deep that I can't sand, scrape, or plane it out. So normally I don't, but it's conditional upon having access, easy access to the end grain afterwards.
Are we going to play Shadowlands?
Yeah, like we usually do. We'll subscribe for a month, play for a week, and then forget about it.
No, we usually play for a couple months.
Also, do you have a go-to method for sanding hard-to-reach areas? He goes into detail about inside corners and things like that. I think you nailed it there, Corey. There's only really a couple of choices. Inside corners are difficult with power. You usually do have to go in there by hand, scrape, or hand sand with a block. Best course of action is to get those areas sanded before you do the assembly. So if you have some casework, try to get those parts sanded so that you don't have to get into that three-sided corner with hand sanding, and get as much of that done ahead of time.
Did you see the super chat from Dan S? What's up? Scroll up. Boop, boop, boop. Keep going. Keep going. There it is. It highlights it. Dan. What's it? The Cupcake Man?
The Cupcake Man?
No.
What's the actual difference between Osmo polyx oil and top oil? Finishing the gaming table, what benefit is there to using top oil over polyx or polyx?
Polyx.
I don't know for sure, because it's been a long time since I've actually used Osmo. I've been really favoring Rubio. Simple. I think it's a simpler product line, and that's why I kind of gravitate toward it. To my understanding, the top oil for Osmo is just a more durable end product that you can apply more of a substantial layer to. So if you're doing like a kitchen cabinet or something that requires that higher durability, I believe that's the main thing, is you're probably going to get a more durable surface out of it. I used it with a roller and applied it, so it actually was a fairly substantial film, and that worked out great for me. So, look into it a little bit deeper, maybe talk to Osmo themselves or look at the product pages. But to my knowledge, it's, I believe, a food safety component to it, and then also just a durability component to it, so that you can use polyx oil as your starter coat and then kind of finish with the top oil. It's not a really great answer because I'm not that familiar with the product line.
I got a question here from Randy Phillips. He had emailed me, and I just remembered I had it. He is interested on your advice on how to sand the edges of round items, coasters, ball makers, that we make at a production volume.
Ball makers?
Ball makers? He says that he does, what is it? Oh, I don't know what the website. Custom wooden products for the golf industry.
My brain was going in a totally different direction.
Ball makers.
Okay, I'm not going to go there. Nicole will get mad at me if I take this tangent.
All right.
I'm not taking the bait, Nicole.
Okay, I'm baiting. He says, I have an oscillating spindle sander, and of course we can sand by hand, but I'm wondering if there's a way to do this that I'm missing.
Yeah. It depends on, like, if you're talking a sphere.
Yeah, I think so. It's round edges.
That's a little bit different. But
Like-
if we're talking about something like a coaster that's round, you can come up with things like for a disc sander, even the spindle sander, you have to have a way to immobilize a platform. And I don't know if you could afford to do this with the design, but if you can get some kind of a pin or a hole at the dead center of your coaster, you can actually put that on a platform and spin it around, right? And if you could do that, you just get that edge up to the, a disc sander is one of the best options for this, and rotate it around. That keeps it nice and concentric, keeps it nice and round, but sands that outside edge consistently, and you don't have to do it by hand. I don't know if that's going to work though, because it really requires you to have a pinhole in the center of like maybe the underside of that coaster, right? But that's just one solution. You're talking about other things like a ball holder, I imagine, is a scoop out.
Yeah.
That's tricky, man. I mean, how do you sand that outside of by hand?
Or like he said golf, I'm thinking like little wooden balls, and all I'm thinking is like what they do with the bowling balls where they
to wax them up?
wax them up.
Yeah, that'll be good. I'm picturing more of like a dish out so that the golf ball can drop into it. There are soft sanding things that people have. I think Arbortech.
Oh, ball markers. Yeah, not ball. Did I say ball maker?
Yeah.
It probably does say marker, and I just didn't read it right.
So there's different things that you could have that have soft surfaces that you could sand with, but you have to be careful not to change the shape with those, right? So, I don't know. If
it is a marker, not a maker. Okay. Ball maker.
He says ball marker.
Marker.
Okay. Did I even answer the question? I don't know.
He was just looking for ideas. So if you have anybody watching, leave it in the comments if you're watching this live. But if you're watching this live, give them a suggestion if you have a way to sand.
It's always the case, by the way. I am rapid fire answering questions with zero preparation. So if there is ever a time, I hope you guys already know this, that you have a better answer than I'm giving, that's what the chat room is there for.
Yep.
We really rely on you guys to keep me straight here. Sometimes just crap comes out of my mouth and I can't help it. But I don't lie. No. I'm never going to be dishonest about my answers. Okay.
Alrighty.
So Richard has a sister who wants him to make an entry bench for their wedding. They're going to have people sign it. It's made of white oak. Okay, so
you love these questions.
I love these questions. We do get this a lot. I don't know exactly what the perfect formula is to write on a surface and then be able to seal that in. Now we do a little thing for certain Patreon levels.
A Patreon level where you sign a piece of wood.
Yeah, I take a piece of scrap from a project and I sign it and say, thanks for supporting us. And the way that I do this is not necessarily what I recommend, but it works on a small scale, is to just, I use like rattle can lacquer, give it a nice seal coat, and then I sign it with a Sharpie. What that does is it prevents the Sharpie from absorbing into the fibers, keeps the ink on top of the lacquer, and then I seal it back in with lacquer. The problem is, I think if someone dwells a little bit too long on that surface, you could have a little reactivity between the lacquer and the marker. And then when you put that next coat on top of it, you have to put a very light dusting coat, because if you soak it in, you might reactivate the marker. That's a lot of conditions for you to have to worry about with potentially, tens of, however many signatures on this thing. So look into it. Again, chat room, I just mentioned it. I need you guys to give me suggestions for this, because when I do this on a small scale, it's no big deal. It's one signature, one small piece of wood. There's got to be a better method for like a non-reactive way to get that signature on top of a sealed surface and then put another coat on top of it to seal that stuff in. And I don't know that lacquer and Sharpie marker is the way to do that. This might be a time to go to an art supply store and see if you could do something. But I know people in the chat have had to have done this and have some advice for him.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a question. I got some questions I've been pulling from the chat. Kenneth Dunn said, should the bottom of a cabinet scraper, a Stanley 80, be flat? I bought one at an estate sale, and it's slightly
an estate sale.
Yes,
that's Spanish for estate sale, Nicole.
Estate. So he says it has a little bit of a concave.
Yeah, so this is, it would be ideal for it to sit flat, but if you look at that surface, I'm going to try to catch the light just right. Right on this edge and right here, you should see areas that are high areas. Okay, those are areas that I was not able to flatten. So I will take this guy and run it over sandpaper on a flat surface and try to get that as flat as possible, but you can see it's not perfect. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but the flatter it is, the better off you are. So if you are getting poor results, you're getting a lot of chatter, you're unable to maintain flat surfaces, things are just going wonky, then do that. Get some sandpaper, get a flat surface, plate glass, a piece of granite, your table saw top, and then just go back and forth with it. Do your best to try to keep even pressure and flatten this thing out. It's kind of the same thing you do when you try to flatten a plane. You just want to get it as flat as possible because that's going to give you better results in general. But if you're scraping and everything's going fine, then maybe you don't worry about it so much. If you got extra time on a weekend, then go for it.
Let's see. Thomas has a question.
Yes.
Mark, composite nails, do you or can you use your existing equipment? How do you pronounce that? Phenomenal?
We pronounce that pneumatic.
Pneumatic.
But let's, for now on, pronounce it phenomenal.
Or electric. I need to get a new type of gun. Thanks.
Okay. Composite nails. I don't know. I've never used composite nails. So,
what is a composite nail?
Well, there's metal, right? And then there's composite.
Is it like plastic?
It's like made of other schmutz.
Yeah.
I don't know if I think they're plastic, aren't they?
I don't know.
So I've never used them before. I don't really know for sure if you can just pop those into any old, what'd you call it? Phenomenal? I don't know if you could just pop it into any phenomenal nailer.
Shut up.
I don't really know.
Yeah.
Man, this is one of those days where the chat room is
all right.
Helping me out here.
You just got a super chat from Joseph. Scroll up a bit.
Up.
Yep. Keep on.
Hold on.
There it is.
Keep on.
Thanks,
scrolling.
Joseph.
Oh, great. You're welcome.
What
Joseph says, thanks for the router bit advice. Worked like a champ.
What was the advice?
So he's doing some gorgeous shop cabinets. So I don't know, Joseph, if you want people following you, but he's got an Instagram account. Look him up. And he's doing just a gorgeous set of cabinets that are just shop cabinets, but he's putting like love and attention into it. And he had a little bit of flush trimming advice that he needed to do for his benchtop, and it looks fantastic. And I'm a little bit jealous.
You told
Joseph.
people to follow him on Instagram, but you didn't say what his Instagram was.
Well, because I don't know if he wants people to follow him.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, if you dig hard enough, you could probably find the guy, but I don't necessarily want to, blurt out his Instagram account without his permission.
This is true. All right, I got another question here. How many Patreon questions do you have?
Joseph got himself a Rectech.
Oh.
And he's enjoying it.
Yeah, we can take that conversation over to the after show.
Okay. What'd you say?
Where are you at with Patreon questions?
Oh, I got one more.
Show me.
But it's another one that I don't have a great answer
Adam. For. Okay, I'll give you Nicholas.
Hold on, I gotta get naked. It's getting warm in here.
Hey, we're gonna have these shirts soon.
They're gonna be a thing, y'all.
Mark's mom is on it.
Yeah, Mom's here, so we're getting t-shirts made. We're getting morning show shirts. We're getting Wood Talk shirts. We're getting WoodWhisperer shirts. We're getting Guild shirts. We're getting Woodworkers Fighting Cancer shirts. We're going to have some shirts, guys.
We're going to have lots of shirts. Joseph says it's Joseph_Mensch on IG.
Okay, well, there you go. Here, I'm going to add that. Joseph, you're going to get a few more followers, buddy.
You can check out what he's doing. So Nicholas wants to know, hello from Los Angeles. He has a big green egg table question. Anything you would have done differently? I'm thinking of using cedar and was wondering if I should modify the joinery/finish.
Cedar is a little soft, and this is something you got to be concerned about with a heavy item like the big green egg table. So the only thing I might have done differently, I might have, just for safety reasons, given myself just a little bit more room around the egg. I think I allowed for like a 1/2 inch on each side. I don't think you can be, if you get to the point where stuff is dropping in there, that's not good. But I don't know that this is an area where you could be too cautious. You don't want the wood to be right next to the ceramic, right? So give yourself, a little bit more room there just to be safe. And especially, I use sapele, and after talking with my buddy Shannon about it, he said sapele in particular is a slow burn. It's a difficult wood to get to burn. Like some wood will just go right up in flames, right? Sapele is one of the woods that takes a long time for it to ignite. It's got a lot of resistance, It's got a lot of resistance to igniting, and it's a good choice for this. But even then, I just don't feel comfortable seeing that wood get really, really hot. So that's about the only change I would make, is making sure that it's got enough room there. But if you're using a softer wood like cedar, I don't know. I don't know how much I trust it, because what I did was I built mine, stood on it, and really got a sense for how confident I'd be and how well it could support that weight. You're doing that with cedar. I don't know for sure if you're going to want to reinforce it. So there are ways to reinforce that bottom shelf with more cross pieces that would be something you should consider.
Lorna, hopefully you're in the chat room seeing all the requests for the different types of shirts.
Well, you know what else we got a request for? The Babinga shirt. I wore it the other day, and I had at least 3 or 4 people ask if they could buy it. So we got a lot of stuff to do.
Got a question here from Derek. He says, "Hi Mark, for the gaming table, could you use milled 4x4? Is that 4 or is that 4 quarter? 4 quarter stock for the tabletop itself. I have many 10-12 inch wide cherry boards I'd like to use up if cupping won't be an issue."
You could. What he's talking about is the gaming dining table has a false top on it. Basically, it's a lid, and it sits inside a rabbeted, frame. So using solid wood in there, as long as you are allowing for expansion and contraction, you don't want to go there one day and be like, oh crap, I can't get the lid off because it expanded too much. You definitely can use solid material there. I did it on the coffee table version of it, and I just gave myself a lot of extra room, and those pieces do move. There are also ways you could look into, like using springs or soft material between them that take up some of that slack but still allow it to expand and contract. So there are options. Yes, you can do it, but you do have to watch it. It could definitely cause problems over time.
Well, there we go.
What else we got? How we doing on our time? We got a few more minutes, Nicole.
How do I ban somebody in the chat?
Well, you got to do it in
because I see
just
that.
hide them on the channel.
Hide.
What's that turd saying?
I don't know, but he can go away.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, troll.
All right.
What else we got?
Let's see here. I got a question from Matthew Walton. So many combo sanders are disc sanders and a belt sander in vertical configuration. When would I use one versus the other?
Well, here's the thing. I've got one. I never used, I never used the belt. And in fact, one of the things I'd like to do this year is talk to Powermatic about doing a giveaway on my disc combo sander and getting myself a bigger disc sander, right? So there are other ways you could do this. If you have one of those big edge sanders, those I think are pretty handy to have. A big disc sander that gives you a good amount of real estate, that's a good thing. But the combination belt disc sander does nothing for me, right? All I use is the disc on that one. And because it's a combo machine, the disc is fairly small, so it's not as useful as it could be for that footprint, right? So there are people who probably do use that. So you might be asking the wrong person here, but personally, I don't really use the belt side of it. So I think you should get something else. Excuse me.
Alrighty. Did you do the last Patreon question?
No, I didn't. Sorry.
That's from Adam, right?
Yeah. So Adam wants to know about making a coffee table out of sugar maple. His wife wants a herringbone pattern on the top. Let's see. So he wants to know, should he make the herringbone pattern out of solid wood, or do something where he glues that to a stable platform. I've never made one before, but I would be more inclined to go onto a panel, a stable panel. It just seems like a better way when you have wood going every which way, excuse me, and you want that thing to behave. I would absolutely recommend doing it in a more veneer style. I like that method better, but again, another thing I don't have much experience with. I've never done a herringbone pattern. Then he had a question about this. He wants to know about making a triple miter joint or a three-way miter. I'm telling you, Nicole, another thing I've never done before. I've never made a three-way miter.
I was really surprised to hear that. You've been doing woodworking for a while.
Yeah, but sometimes they're just joints you never get a chance to do. This is an article on Fine Woodworking called something Simplified Three-Way Miter Joint, and he's asking how I might approach it or if he should use the domino. I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but I think you should look at this article. I think this one shows a more traditional way, but also you could see those little splines in there. Those are plywood. So that might be a cool way to accomplish this joint without driving yourself crazy. So let me see. Do I have the ability to put the link there? I do not. Anyway, Google simplified three-way miter joint, and that's going to give you some suggestions for that. And with that, Nicole, we are done for today.
We're done?
We're done.
We don't have any more questions? Jeff, I just wanted to say to Jeff had asked a few times if we offer private lessons. No, we didn't do it before COVID, and we're not doing it after. So just something we don't do.
Well, my shop is attached to my house.
Yep.
There's liability, safety, security concerns, so that's why we don't really do that.
Yep.
Okay, so that's going to wrap it up today. If you are a $5 or higher member or patron, there is an after show.
There is.
Right? And Nicole's going to put that link out there for you guys.
All you have to do if you're already on YouTube, go to the WoodWhisperer page under Community tab, and you can get to the show that way.
Yeah.
If you are a Patreon subscriber at the $2 level.
Yep.
I'll put a link in the chat.
And the after show is a little bit more off topic. We talk about video games, movies, whatever. Just
Star
stuff.
Trek.
You can ask any questions you want. Yeah, we could talk about Star Trek.
It's an Ask Anything show.
Yeah, so we will see you guys then. In the meantime, don't forget Matt's project is going out of pre-sale today. And the intro to Sketchup will be going out of pre-sale in a couple of weeks. You still got time, but don't delay. It's there waiting for you. We've got Woodworkers Fighting Cancer auctions.
Starts at 1 o'clock our time. So yeah, 1 o'clock our time is when the auctions go live, and they will run for 2 weeks. And in fact, the build, we're keeping Woodworkers Fighting Cancer to 2 weeks this year. I don't have
it's
the
a
time.
simpler project too.
It needs to be simple for me to manage it. So 2 weeks for the auctions, 2 weeks for the submissions of the desk. Again, everything you need to know is woodworkersfightingcancer.com.
Yeah, and Barbara had a quick question. Is that called a bridle joint? I believe she's talking about the three-way miter. No, it's actually called a three-way miter. There might be other names for it, but that's the most common name that I know of. A bridle joint is a little bit different. That's when you have your two pieces that come up like this, and then you have the male that comes in that way, right? It's a little bit of a different joint, but that one is called a three-way miter. Okay, everything else? Apo Apino wants to know if he's banned. No. I think you should know the answer to that question.
If you're asking a question and
I
still
read
talking, I didn't ban you.
You have not been banned. All right, so thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will catch you next week.
Bye.
See ya.